received for the suppression of the Polish rebellion more than anything. The melody of the word combination fascinated the boy, who did not have the faintest idea about Poles. In light of the child's obvious affinity for the medal, his uncle finally gave it to him. The boy wore this medal, along with the medal for the conquest of Shipka, which he received from another uncle, right up until the age of 7. The word Shipka certainly lost out to the word rebellion in terms of sonority, but the beauty of the medal itself made up for its phonetic shortcomings. The child's happiest moments were spent sitting among his officer relatives with the 2 medals on his chest. These were still Russian officers of a bygone time. They knew how to use cutlery, including the fish knife, now forgotten, effortlessly kissed ladies' hands, and performed numerous other courtesies unimaginable for officers of a later epoch. General Larionov had no need to overcome his circumstances, quite the opposite. He needed only to absorb the qualities of his environs, to brim with them, which is in fact what he did. His inclination to become a general manifested itself in early childhood, when he began lining up wooden hussars in even rows on the floor before he had fully learned to walk. Seeing him engaged in this pursuit, those present uttered the only possible combination of words, General Larionov. Ponder the naturalness of the union of those 2 words. They were made for one another. They were pronounced without a pause and became a united whole, flowing from one to the other, just as a rider and his horse become a united whole in battle. General Larionov. This was his first and only name among the family, and he became accustomed to it immediately and forever. General Larionov. Whenever the child heard that form of address, he stood and silently saluted. He did not learn to speak until he was 3½ years old. What, one might ask, unites 2 such dissimilar individuals as the historian Solovyov and the General Larionov? If, of course, it is permissible to speak of uniting a budding young researcher and a battle-weary commander who, furthermore, is no longer of this earth. The answer lies at the surface. Historian Solovyov was studying General Larionov's activity. After graduating from St. Petersburg University, Solovyov began his graduate studies at the Institute of Russian History, where General Larionov became his dissertation topic. Based on entries in reference books, there is no reason to doubt that by 1996, that being the time under discussion, General Larionov already belonged wholly to Russian history. Needless to say, Solovyov was not the first to devote himself to studying the famous general's biography. Over the years, a couple of dozen scholarly articles had appeared at various times. They were devoted to various stages of Larionov's life, and above all, the mysteries associated with him that have yet to be unraveled. Although the number of works appears considerable at first glance, it seems completely insufficient if compared to the interest that General Larionov has always inspired, both in Russia and overseas. The fact that the number of scholarly research works is significantly fewer than the number of novels, films, plays, etc., in which the general appears, either as a figure or as a prototype for a character, does not appear to be accidental. This state of affairs symbolizes, as it were, the predominance of mythology over positive knowledge in everything concerning the deceased. Beyond that, critical analysis by French researcher Amélie Dupont has shown that the mythology has even penetrated various scholarly articles about the commander, which explains why the topic of research becomes a minefield to a certain extent for anyone just beginning work on the subject. However, even those articles, and Dupont writes about this too, in which the truth comes across, thanks to all the splendor of scholarly argumentation, shed light on such narrow problems and episodes that the significance of the extracted and argued truth is reduced to nearly